Welcome to Smashing Through Walls with Carla McGee. Whether you are just pulling up a seat to the table, breaking a glass ceiling, or smashing through walls, grab your favorite mug and join us on the first and third Friday at 11 o'clock for candid conversations with industry experts and decision makers as we navigate and explore all the things related to real estate and community.
Hey everyone, it's Carla McGee with Smashing Through Walls, because we don't want to just break the glass ceiling, we want to smash down the walls. I'm here today with some very exciting guests. My co-guest today is David Pierce from the MHG commercial team, and our guest today is Rob Millar, and I'll just say from the City of Scottsdale because I'll let you introduce yourself and all your accolades. So why don't you start us off, Rob?
Well, good morning. Thank you for having me, Carla. And David, it's good to hang out with you this morning on this Friday morning. Rob Millar. I'm the Director of Economic Development with the City of Scottsdale. So I get to do fun things about helping ensure our Scottsdale economy is strong and thriving and growing.
Sounds fun.
It is. It's a fun job.
Absolutely.
It's not really a job. It's kind of a sport, really.
It's like
Right.
a sport.
Yeah.
We go and try to retain the talent that we have and
That's right.
grow it and continue to make sure Scottsdale's got that robust economy, right?
That's right.
And the other new voice behind the microphone is...
David Pierce with MHG Commercial as well. I get to work with Carla all the time, actually.
You
Been-
lucky guy.
Yeah.
I'm jealous.
You should be.
But
I'm a lot of fun.
I've been doing real estate in Scottsdale for 20 years
And you
now.
live in Scottsdale
Yes,
as well.
I've lived in the 852571 or 0 all 20 of those years. So
I'm partial to Mesa, which I've made very clear to everybody, and David is partial to Scottsdale.
yeah, I've been told it's my bubble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mesa's my bubble.
I don't
I'm
like leaving
No,
it.
if I could just do
We won't
business
hold
there.
that against you, Carla.
Well, thanks. I appreciate
yeah.
that.
Not
yes.
much.
Yeah, and I'm a Scottsdale native, pretty much
Yeah.
since I was 5. My parents moved out from Iowa, and they said I was too young to stay behind.
Okay.
You know, the fire stations will still let you drop off at 5. I'm just,
Well,
not that I've ever looked into it.
it's too late for that now. So, but same thing. I grew up in 85257 and live in that same area, and it's been home for a long time.
I was going to say, it
Yeah.
says that you're a 48-year resident.
Yeah.
I don't know how you could pull that off at 39.
Right,
I'm just saying.
right. Well, it's math. It's bad math.
It's bad. That's
It's
bad,
bad math, and I have a lot of kids. That's why my hair is so gray. Other than that, I'm 32.
Right. I was just saying,
Exactly.
real estate. I'm only 25. What do you
Right,
mean I look
right.
like I'm in my 40s? That's
Right.
what this will do to you.
Exactly.
Yeah. So speaking of real estate, I'm just going to jump right into it because there are some hot questions about Scottsdale right now. Everybody's moving here, and I know that it is one of the top picks. So let's talk about a couple things. Let's talk about, this is kind of all over the place, but business coming, and then also what does post-COVID look like? Because I know David and I get asked all the time, like, aren't the offices empty? Aren't they all dead? Isn't that going to be the next bubble actually? And I disagree. And I would love to hear your thoughts on it and kind of what you're seeing in the city.
Yeah, so I'll cut to the chase. I'm bullish on office. I think that we're all still trying to figure out what this post-pandemic thing is going to be, and it's probably the question we get asked, and most people in economic development get asked, a few times a week, and nobody really knows for sure. I would say that I think it's going to take some time for us to realize what that's going to look like. And we talk with companies all the time, and large companies, with thousands of employees, and small businesses, 5 or less, and ask them, what does it look like for you? And they're trying to navigate that. Hybrid is, I would say,
I've heard that too.
the product of the month, and trying to figure out what that looks like. And I would say most of that is because of retention and attraction, that the workforce is definitely in the driver's seat. And that changed with the pandemic, right? Before the pandemic, could you imagine going to your employer and saying, I'm going to work from home?
Half the time?
Yeah.
No way.
How about all
When
the
I
time?
feel like
right?
it. Yeah.
All the time.
All the time. And it wasn't a question. It was a statement. And so I think that has just really changed our world. And it's not unique to Scottsdale. It's everywhere.
Correct.
And employers are adjusting to that. And a lot of companies put their office space on the sublease market, or just close the doors entirely as they try and navigate this. And, you're talking, it could be 5,000 square feet, 100,000 square feet. We've got a large employer, North Scottsdale, that built 500,000 square feet in the middle of the pandemic. Beautiful Class A office space. and it's empty as they figure out what that new normal is going to be. I think, what's going to happen, I don't have a crystal ball. If I did, I would have brought it because it would have been great for the photo op.
We wouldn't still be in real estate.
Yeah. Well, I would let
economic
you guys
development.
use it.
Yeah.
It's just for me. It's my crystal ball. Very protective of my crystal ball. But I think what's going to happen is that, companies, you probably saw the Elon Musk. I don't know if you saw his email he sent out to his workforce
I did.
a
Oh
couple
yeah, they're
days
going
ago.
back to
40 hours a week
At
or
minimum.
or depart
Yes. Yeah.
Tesla.
or
he,
pound sand.
Yeah.
Is what
Right.
I like to
And
call it.
his thought was that great things happen when we're together.
Collaboration is key.
Yeah, if you don't show up, then we're gonna. I think his words were, "We're gonna assume you quit."
Yep.
Now that's to say that's kind of on the one side of the spectrum.
Mhm.
I don't think a lot of employers are taking that hard line, but I think as they start to see that collaboration is key and office space is needed in some shape or form, there's going to be a rush, I think, for companies to get back in, and or if the space in which is going to be redefined, because previous to the pandemic, you'd have companies coming in and really, putting company or employees into small, open floor plans. That became the really cool thing,
Oh,
right?
yeah,
I
the,
mean, we did that in our office.
collaborative
We did collaborative workspace. And I was like,
Mhm.
Yeah, that's
whoa,
done.
I want my own personal space. What's this?
Yeah.
I got to sit next to David all day and listen to him chew and talk and
listen to
listen to him.
his
and,
music.
Yeah, his kids call all day
Yeah.
long and all that.
Well, in shared spaces, we don't want those anymore.
No,
Right.
We want our dedicated
we want our
space.
dedicated space, but that requires more real estate.
It does.
So I think that's, what you're going to see is kind of maybe the storm of, we need to go back into the office. We need more space.
Mhm.
Right.
Closed offices, I think, are going to come back in. I blame the CEOs of the larger tech companies who said, I'm not going to have an office. I'm going to
We're
sit
gonna
with
be
employees.
different.
Right.
Right.
And so I think that, you're going to see that shift. And a lot of things are cycled.
So
Yeah.
prior to the pandemic, we were all with this whole hybrid model. We were going to have these open floor plans and all of that. And what we saw actually was people moving away from that right before we entered the pandemic. We were having a kind of a return to the office, the traditional office that we knew happening. Then the pandemic hit. Boom. All right, that all stopped. Well, that's going to come back.
Right.
I mean, that's absolutely going to come back. And then also for those hybrid model that you're seeing being pushed right now, well, then they want the premium location.
Right.
Where is that premium location? Scottsdale,
Right.
right? They want to be in those multinodal centers of economic, where the air park
Right.
in downtown Old Town Scottsdale, and they want to be in the glass facades that are really fancy down, in ASU's project in Skysong, right? Those are all places that have seen
Right.
almost all leased out. So we're seeing that. And then we're seeing office sales now. DC Ranch had the office sale at $531 a square foot.
Exactly.
That's betting on the future, right? We know that's going to be a strong performer long term. We're willing to pay that dollar.
Right.
So we're seeing that happen. And I think that's going to continue to see that push. And then when you see a push back to return to office, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because from our perspective, anytime anyone is telling us that they want property or space in Scottsdale, it's nearly impossible. Like, we can't even put people there because there's no space. So how is the city bringing in great talent, bringing in great businesses, but also accommodating the space? Like, what's coming in? What's in the works?
So in any kind of a economic downturn, there's opportunities. And, as economists, we're opportunists.
Mhm.
I'm not. And
Except you.
Except me. So that's an important part is, how do you capitalize on some of the negative things that have happened with the pandemic? I will tell you, and this is an important part, is that we have targeted markets that we proactively go into to look for companies. Locations like Chicago, New York, San Francisco. Those have been
Are
our
you trying
target.
to steal people? Is that what you're saying?
We absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
I mean, isn't
We're-
that what
yeah,
every great city does?
every city does
The
it?
best talent.
The
Right,
best talent.
Right.
There are cities around the country that are probably in Arizona today, meeting with companies, meeting with talent, doing the same thing that we do. So it's
Absolutely.
a common practice. It's a competitive industry.
It's like headhunting, but
It
for
is, and we're looking for the
businesses,
best of the best because labor is different now, and now you can work remote. So we're going after tech is a strong industry for Scottsdale, and we've seen a lot of growth pre-pandemic, and there's a lot of market share for us to capitalize on. And we go after a certain targeted wage too, because we want people that live in Scottsdale to also work in Scottsdale because there's a multiplier effect of that. But if you're in an industry that says you can live anywhere in the world and work from home and you're making a good wage, we want you to live in Scottsdale. Why wouldn't you live in a place where millions of people save up for years to come and vacation? Why wouldn't you want to live here? And David and I can speak to this. Carla, you can't because you live in Mesa. Nothing against Mesa. I love Mesa. I really do. I lived in Mesa. I was going to college. But people think that we live in paradise. So that's not completely new, but the pandemic exploded that opportunity to go after the best talent, high wage earners, to get them to locate in Scottsdale. So we're doing active marketing in our targeted markets to dangle that carrot in front of our top talent.
I think that's part of the reason we saw this big housing boom here in Arizona.
It's because of us.
It's just because of Scottsdale. That's it. The end. Show's over. Just because of Scottsdale.
Yep.
No, but I think...
Mic drop. Wait.
Yeah, mic drop. No, Mike. I think that because people said, hey, my company just told me I'm working from home indefinitely. We have no answer as to when we're coming back. I'm originally from Seattle, so I would say it rains here 300 days a year. Why wouldn't I move somewhere where they have bountiful sunshine, swimming pools? Let's make work from home life more attractive and just move down there. So in Northeast Mesa, which might not be where you lived when you were in college, we have like the mountains.
I'm trying to remember where I lived in college.
It's not known as the more affordable area.
Okay.
Let's put it that way. But we have mountains, we have kayaking, we have rivers, and I know Scottsdale does too. And so it's like, if I'm going to work from home, why wouldn't I do somewhere that feels like I'm on vacation every day? And I think that that's where we saw. So it'll be interesting to see if those people have to start heading out. I already know one colleague friend of mine that had to quit his job because they told him, you're going back.
Right.
And he was like, oh no, we really like it here. We're not actually going back.
I think you're going to see quite a bit of that.
Yeah.
Think of those people that moved to Idaho, right?
Ugh.
All of those
sorry.
places.
Did I say that out loud?
But
that was my out loud voice. My bad.
But still, you had a huge influx of people leave some of these major metropolitan areas where a lot of their employers were to these other places. So how many are going to end up having to go back?
Right. Or quit their job, which then needs to bring business here so that they have somewhere to work where they're still making an adequate income. So what is the average income for a Scottsdale resident?
Well, I'll tell you the targeted wage that we go after is just over $80,000. And that's 200% of the county's median wage. So that's the county's, just under 40,000, 39 and some change. We go after industries that have wages 80,000 or higher. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't take companies or work with companies or locate companies that have wages less than that. But, we really set that wage higher because, again, that likelihood that you're going to live in Scottsdale goes up if we get those targeted wages. It goes substantially down
with
if
median
you don't.
housing costs at 1.2.
That's what I was going to just say. How do we make attainable housing for people that are in that under $80,000 range?
Yeah. This is a conversation that our community and a lot of communities around Arizona have had for as long as I can remember, 20 plus years. And it's changed a little bit. For the longest time, it was about affordable housing, and then you got to define what's affordable housing. And now the conversation has broadened to workforce housing, community housing, attainable housing, and it means different things to different people. But when you talk about teachers, I think things professions we can get our arms around where we want these people to live in our communities are firefighters, police officers, teachers, nurses. And that's, been a challenge for any community is to keep them in their community. School districts now are looking at their own properties and saying, we can affect this problem on our campuses. School districts are exempt from following municipal zoning codes. So they can construct housing on their properties if they want.
Interesting.
Or schools, for that matter.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So let's just hypothetically, what would that look like? Would that look like almost like student housing, but for qualified teachers?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I know a lot of independent and international schools overseas, like in China, has absolutely the boarding covered for the teachers. They have apartments for them. So that's part of the enticement of bringing them over.
Think about how cool that would be. Say you're in some kind of school subsidized housing while you're gaining experience as a teacher, saving some money so you could afford a house where you teach, and you're teaching in probably one of the best school districts in our state. I think that sounds attractive, right? That's an attractive way to bring teachers over.
Well, and I think it's a way to keep salaries down, because if you can give them housing as a perk, then you
Right.
can get away with paying them, well, less.
Well, maybe what they're already being paid.
Or, yeah.
Yeah. I think districts are looking at it, as an attraction tool. Because I mean, I have 2 daughters that are, one's a first year teacher and one is going to second year
Good
teacher,
for them.
and they struggle with that too. It's
Yeah.
like, I'm making how much, Dad? You know, and they're entering the real world, so they're
Right.
trying to get a sense of, I have this and I have bills, and how do I do this? Well, we all went through this, starting off in our careers, and how do you pay your bills? And so I think it's a way to help impact that a little bit, where a school district says, for the first couple of years, I think you'd want to put a limit on it as kind of a way to get them into the district as you get a little experience. And if you choose to get roommates and you can move out and get an apartment, whatever that may be. But it's just a creative way of just trying to attract and be
Absolutely.
competitive, because not every school district around the country is going to be able to do this. But I think those that do are going to definitely get the best.
Mhm.
So that is school district, like where the current school is built, correct? Which is different than, say, state land, which some people may not understand the difference. So can you explain what state land is to the listeners, and what is Scottsdale doing with any state land they're acquiring or have acquired?
Yeah, so state land, Arizona has millions of acres that when the state became a state, there was millions of acres of land out there that the state owned. And the state constitution talks about the state needs to dispose of that land to help fund the state's educational trust. And there's some other aspects, but majority of the sales go to the state's education. So it pays for our education system. Pretty much every city in the state has some level of state land, give or take. So the state, for the longest time, was leasing land.
Mhm.
So if you wanted to get it, do a long-term lease. They've gradually moved into selling land. For Scottsdale, we had originally about 1,400 acres of state land, generally in the area of the 101 freeway from Hayden to Scottsdale Road. So everything north and south that you see bare land, that was state land.
Yep.
The state has moved into selling land, and that's helped us quite a bit to market that, because it's a complicated process, and it would take me hours to walk through it in detail. But in broad strokes, it's a public land. So if you have an interest, Carla, you say, you know what, I want to buy 100 acres for my new enterprise, Carla's Cars. It's an antique car collection and restoration
Totally.
program. It's made that up, but it
I
sounds
like
good.
it.
We'll work
That
on
does
that
sound
later.
good. Okay, well,
Yeah.
let's trademark.
Hopefully you like cars. It's going to be a horrible business.
I
if you
come from
don't.
a car family, so
See, how did
yeah.
I know that?
I don't know. I just have
Wow.
the vibe, I
Yeah.
guess. Yeah.
Or it could be my crystal ball. It's in my car. So you used to go to the state and say, I want 100 acres. And the state says, okay, fill out this application. They take the application, and then they say, we will put it up for auction at some point. The state is like anybody else. They have limited resources. They have a department, get this, called the State Land Department. Didn't see that coming, did you?
Whoa.
Yeah, right.
So creative.
Yeah. And then they have to, but they've got, a lot of eager people around the state, different cities. And so they'll eventually, as quickly as they can, get it to an auction process. There's a lot of due diligence you have to do on your side. You have to do excavating. You have to do a lot of different things to make sure that property is safe. Everybody knows what's under that dirt, what kind of drainage you have to do, public infrastructure. The state does an appraisal. They post the appraisal amount on the website. They do all the things. There used to be the newspaper says, well, your 100 acres is worth $100 million. And then they set an auction date.
Mhm.
And it's usually 12 weeks after they put $100 million out there. It's in the basement of the State Land Department. And it's a good old-fashioned auction. You come in, they give you a paddle, and you bid.
Okay.
And the highest bidder gets the land. So
Okay.
it's a process that takes time. And so we have about 800 acres left. And we're marketing that as Scottsdale's corporate corridor, because if you look at what's up there now, you have Cavison, which is a 134-acre parcel that Nationwide Realty Investment bought 3 years ago. And that's the real estate arm of Nationwide Insurance.
Mhm.
And so they are developing that as a mixed-use project, and also built Nationwide's regional office there. I mentioned the 500,000 square feet that they built for their regional office there. Mixed use hotel, a couple office Choice Hotels has their technology international center there. Axon bought 74 acres on the southeast corner of Hayden and 101 to build their international headquarters. And most recent auction was Dorito Partners, partnered with Van Tile to purchase a little over 80 acres on the southwest corner of Hayden and the 101. And so they're going to look to develop that. There's still about 800 acres left. And so when you start to see Choice Hotels, Nationwide Realty Investment, you start to see Axon, you see this clustering of corporate entities. And corporations like to be clustered. There's sharing of talent. It's marketability from, in terms of location where you can live and the amenities in the area. So we're taking advantage of that. We think that land, if things go well, now there's a lot of things in the world of the economy that we need to talk about
Big
to influence us.
Right.
But if things go reasonably well, 5 to 8 years, that land should all be bought and be developed in some shape or form. So when that land is gone, we are at build out. For all intents and purposes, the city's at build out. So then that's it. Yeah. So we've got a short window. We want the best corporations that make a lot of sense for Scottsdale. We don't have any industrial really in Scottsdale.
We're aware.
The recent piece that just sold, that's probably going to go industrial, and that went for a little over $1 million an acre.
Almost $1.5 million an acres. 124 acres went over for 125 million. And the reason is because we don't have really any industrial, and that's all zoned industrial. So imagine buying 124 acres that's already zoned exactly what you need, which is in high demand for distribution centers, manufacturing, light industrial. That's why I went for.
I expect them to get that out of the ground pretty quickly.
Did you say $1 million an acre?
$1.5 million. Yeah.
$1.5 million an acre. So
for industrial
Carla's cars has to be very lucrative.
Very.
They're not going to be Honda Civics. We're going to have to ramp that up a little bit.
Right. Yeah. In order to purchase.
Nothing against Honda Civics. Anybody's listening that has a Honda Civic.
So Carla's cars, say I have $1.5 million to purchase an acre. I only need an acre. And I'm looking at these parcels. What amount of time take from the time I'm looking to the time I can start selling cars? Mm-hmm. How long does that take?
Really good question. First of all, an acre probably wouldn't work because imagine if the state with 800 acres said they had 800 people looking for acres. So just to say, we'd probably have to go in with a minimum of probably 10 to 15 acres just to get the state interested, just because it's economy of scale. So
So now we would need $15 million.
Let's buy some extra. We can maybe parcel it off and sell it, or maybe we can put some auto types of restaurant uses. Maybe we can get some motorcycle shops. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Right.
But how long it takes from the day you put your application in to the point that the gavel goes down and you get it, minimum of a year, could be a year and a half, depending on, you start searching that dirt. If you find some stuff under there that needs a little more examining, all that stuff can take more time. Mm-hmm. It's been done a little less than a year, but I'd say about a year. And once that gavel goes down and you pay, and then, the zoning is a whole nother issue. But typically, before you go and go to the auction, what zoning you have available to. If you choose to buy it and then change the zoning post after that because you're like, I want to do some multifamily in there, or do something else, then the zoning process kicks in after that.
And that takes longer.
That's the city process, and that goes to the city council. That could take about 6 months, or give or take.
So say the zoning's good. I hold the paper. The gavel went down. I paid. I wrote my check. It cleared. Right. Whew.
That's good.
Yeah. That was close. Then how long? Am I breaking ground tomorrow? Is it all?
If you got your zoning and you got your permit, everything in your development plans, you can break ground right away. It's your property after you pay and your check cleared.
Yeah. So if we're in Scottsdale and we're not selling Honda Civics or anything probably lower than a Honda Civic, I've driven through Scottsdale. I've seen cars that I had to look up to see what they were. Right. So, we're talking high end. Is that the kind of businesses that are coming into Scottsdale? Because some I recognize the names of and some I don't. Right. So are they all kind of that high salary, high end type company? Is that what's left of that 800 acres? Or what do you guys look for when you're trying to determine who can go in there and who can't?
So we do our best to strategize in attracting the best industries that make the most sense for Scottsdale. And we do that in a very open process. So we develop a strategic plan. So I like to say, and it may sound a little corny, but we don't hope for economic success in Scottsdale. We really plan for it, and we have a strategic plan that we talk about with our community leaders, our business leaders, and take a significant time. Our last plan was adopted by the city council in April, and took about a year for us to develop. And it's a 5-year plan. And in that plan, we talk about, what are our objectives? What is it we want to, what does success look like? What are our values for economic success? What are our strategies? And also our industry. So answering your question is, what industries are we going after? And we evaluate industries through that planning process to find out, for instance, this is pick life sciences. We had life sciences as a target for in our previous plan. And we looked at that and said, do we have capacity to grow in that? But we look at our surrounding communities, we look at cities around the country, and we found out that, we don't have a strong, we can continue to pursue it, but other cities around Boston is killing it, right? And people are still attracted, international companies, life sciences, bio-life sciences are attracted to Boston.
What does life science mean?
So it's basically science, but emerging tech. So
Okay.
it is to kind of come together is the way I describe it. Now
Healthcare, pharmacy.
Healthcare, pharmaceuticals.
really? That's in that
non-traditional.
category?
Yeah,
Got
yeah,
it.
yeah,
Okay.
a lot of
Gene
research.
research.
Wow, that's fascinating.
It's cool stuff. But we looked at that and said,
Higher salary.
it makes more sense for us to go after the industries that we see as being able to diversify our economy. Scottsdale was founded on tourism,
Right.
and it's still a key industry for us. But it is very cyclical, right?
Mhm.
After 9/11 and the recession and the pandemic, things are going great. We had 10 million visitors last year.
Ride the wave.
and then we go down, and this, you can get sick
you
going up and
surf,
down.
right?
The roller coaster.
Yeah.
What's that?
You surf,
surf.
right?
Oh, I surf.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're doing it today.
Absolutely.
This afternoon.
Out
A
in
big
our
surf.
oceans
A big
here.
surf. Oh, dang it! They sold big surf.
So to digress a little bit, little do you know, Rob here helped champion the Cure Corridor, which was to help target those life science industries to bring them in, tie them into Mayo, all the way down into Tempe, tying into Skysong, and helping develop and bring in those higher salaried, those life science type.
Is Mayo considered life science?
They have
Or are they considered
a piece
healthcare?
of it. I mean,
Okay.
we have Mayo Clinic in
Yeah.
Scottsdale, and the Mayo Hospitals in
Okay.
Phoenix.
Yes.
But yeah,
So
Got it.
the research center is actually out on Shea in Scottsdale, where they do a lot of clinical research and gene research and all of that sort of thing.
Stuff
So-
that goes way over our
Oh,
heads.
way over
Yeah.
our pay grade.
Yeah.
Yes.
I do have one child. I have high hopes for that type of thing. But
good.
yeah, we'll see how
Yeah.
that goes.
If not, we'll put them to work at Carla's
That's
Cars.
right.
Right.
You're just going to work at Carla's Cars. So Scottsdale can be cyclical sometimes with our temporary residents. We'll call it snowbirds. We'll just call it what it is.
Sure.
So that, and then tourism and travel. So how did the pandemic fare for Scottsdale? Were you guys impacted a lot? Was it less than you thought? Like what did that kind of look like as the world was shutting down?
It happened in March, right?
Yep.
So I think we had a couple spring training games under our belt. And spring is our hot tourism season. And so for that fiscal year, we got through half of our spring cycle, kind of our hotbed time. And so, we took a hit the second half. And, the fiscal year after that, it wasn't as bad as we thought. And part of it is because as far as the city, we projected very conservative in terms of our city leaders and our city treasurer were very conservative. So we estimated pretty low. And so we beat a lot of those projections. So that's good and bad, right? I mean, we
Mhm.
still took a hit. We were going, everybody was growing like gangbusters in 19. It's like, we all knew, using the word, the wave,
Oh, yeah.
hey, we're going up, but every wave's got to go down. We didn't expect the pandemic, of course, but we did pretty well. And I think that, what we did when that hit us, we were already looking at our strategic plan to update it at that time. So when we built our new strategic plan, it also served as a recovery plan. It was perfect timing for us because it's like, now we know what's hitting us.
Mhm.
How do we plan for the next thing that's going to happen? And there's going to be a next thing.
Oh yeah.
There always is.
There is. We don't know what it's going to be.
We didn't know
you
9/11 was going to
Well,
happen.
right.
Go get the
We-
crystal ball
yeah.
out of the trunk.
Yeah, I'll tell you guys tomorrow.
Okay.
It's in the shop.
I have my 8-ball here. Says it's very likely.
It's very likely. It's very
Outlook
likely.
is good.
The
Outlook is good. Yeah. But I mean, there's just catastrophic events that no one can
Right.
ever plan for. 9/11's a perfect example of that. I worked for a marine electronics company for fish finding equipment for yachts at the time.
Keep learning new things about
I know.
you.
I have such an interesting background. It'll all unfold as the as this podcast goes over the years. But at the time, we had already just discussed, like, what does cutting hours back look like? People were not buying stuff for their luxury yachts, go figure. And then 9/11 happened, and it was like, oh, just kidding, we're laying you all off, because now no one's really buying them, because the world was turned upside down. And whenever you have that level of uncertainty, people get scared, they hold on to their money, they don't want to go spend it, right? And then that's what happened after COVID too, or during, or whatever we want to call it, is I don't know what's going on in the world. I'm scared. So I'm not going to go. I'm not going to travel to Scottsdale. Perhaps we're going to cancel that trip and, see how it goes. And then you'd have people like us who took advantage of that and traveled the whole country that summer.
Get some good deals.
Yeah,
Heck yeah.
I did. Well, gas was not almost $6 a gallon at the time. So we spent 2 weeks driving from here up to Utah, up to Idaho, down Washington, down the coast, back. So with the family. It was good times.
Some people that I know call me the Ted Cruz of the pandemic, because my wife and I took full advantage of some great deals traveling, and so, yeah, I mean, so you find the silver lining in it, and
yeah, that's what we did. And now it's like, well, now let's go buy airline tickets because we can, and because my husband's diesel truck costs, half a mortgage just to fill and take a vacation. Yeah.
But I've still got a really positive outlook for the economy in not only just Scottsdale, but for the Phoenix metro area in general, because of the amount of people that have moved here, the amount of
still moving here.
Yeah. And the amount of companies that, Rob and his fellow compatriots have all recruited to come to the Valley and to Scottsdale. I think we're going to weather it much, much better, even as inflationary measures kind of continue to put a crunch on everything.
Well, we were number 2 in the country, Arizona in general, the Phoenix metro, we'll call it, was number 2 for recovery from COVID. So, I mean, I think that says a lot about how strong we are as a state. Right? That people are and then people are still moving here. Although things have kind of balanced out a little bit, we still are in a very strong seller's market. And because people are still coming every day, we have huge companies coming in, and they don't put down billions of dollars for a question mark, right? For I don't know, we'll see how it goes. Right. Like they have 100% intentions.
Well, and I think Rob's very right about the ripple effect, especially when it comes to transforming North Scottsdale into a new multi-nodal commerce center right up there at Scottsdale and the 101 all the way over. I think you're going to see the continuing of that, because he's right. That is about the only available spot for that growth, and they do cluster. And I think Scottsdale Air Park being right there is a good attractor. Then you've got our Westworld and all of that for events, for corporate events and everything else. So I think all of that, it all kind of ties together really well for the next 8-10 years for the growth in Scottsdale. So I'm a little excited to see where things go as far as that's concerned, and what these guys can do when it comes to attracting some really neat companies.
I was just going to say, if anyone is listening out there who knows someone who knows
we hope
someone,
everybody
we hope everybody is. Of
course.
But if you can have your ideal companies or types or whomever that looks like what's in your dream crystal ball?
What's
Who's
the
coming
wish
to
list?
Scottsdale? Yeah.
Well, so we were fortunate that we could put our dream into the strategy that becomes the plan for the next 5 years. And really, it's industries like financial services, healthcare, and technology did really well comparatively during the pandemic, because these are industries that were still thriving. There's still need for them. And we did really well as far as keeping those industries, and the labor continued to grow. And we see a lot of growth in those markets. The salaries tend to be higher. Projected to grow from anywhere from 15 to 18% over the next couple of years, and depending on which industry you're focused on. Technology is exciting. Technology is an individual sector right now. And I think at some point in the near future, it's not going to be a standalone, because every company has technology. Every company is a technology company. I mean, John Deere tractor is a tech company, you know? And basically, I mean, I don't know, have you ridden in a John Deere lately?
No.
Neither have I. But
That's a great question.
But YouTube it. It is
get
so
on the Google
cool.
machine and check it out.
I mean, but the cockpit of those John Deeres are like fighter jets, and they precision laser guided, plowing and dropping of the seed and analyzing the soil depth and the type of, I mean, I'm using that as an example, but so every company has technology. And so, I mean, Coca-Cola is a tech company. They know what can was sold where and when. And it was so technology is exciting for Scottsdale. And I would say for the Phoenix metro area, which is the fastest growing county in the country, because, we're competing and trying to pull over tech from San Francisco.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Right.
I think we're winning at that, too.
Well, it's going to take some time, because if you're a tech company, if you're an emerging tech company, you're looking for venture capital, one of the first things a venture capitalist looks at is your address.
Right.
They want to see you're in San Francisco or somewhere within Silicon Valley. That's just right. But if you're a financial services startup, it's got to say New York, right? That's going to take some time. It's a big ship to turn. But we're starting to see more venture capital in Arizona, and it's going to take a couple of big deals. And then that stigma of, you have to be in San Francisco, I think is going to be abolished. I think that we're going to be, because we're much more less expensive. Typically, you're paying a college graduate to work in a tech company in San Francisco, starting around $150,000, $180,000.
It's cost prohibitive.
And you're living in an apartment with 5 other people, because that's all you can afford. And so the strategy that we've capitalized on is working with companies that are in San Francisco that are looking to scale, looking to grow. And we go in and say, look, you can operate in Scottsdale for almost half of what it takes to operate where you're currently at. And your labor costs are going to drop down substantially. So don't close your operation here, but have another office. So when your employees get a little bit older and they're like, I want to have a house. I want to get married. I want to have a yard or a carport. I want to have a car. And they want to go to Scottsdale. And so, I think there's 40 some flights a day from San Francisco to Scottsdale.
Easy peasy.
Yeah. So executives can come out and check them out. So we've seen some growth. Yelp was one of the examples that kept their operations in San Francisco and opened up in Scottsdale.
Well, that's
big
what
operation in Scottsdale.
Microsoft does, because I used to work for Microsoft too. We'll just add that to the resume. But that's what they do, right? They're headquartered out of the Seattle area, and then they have divisions in a variety of states. I worked for the licensing division in Reno, Nevada, where my second daughter was born. And so it was an entire division, and we worked very closely with the division in Ireland and then in the division in Seattle. And the flight back and forth to Seattle was really easy. The executives were back and forth all the time. And then us executive level worker bees were, making all the magic happen in the background. But so I see when you say that, that's kind of how I envision it. Is like, okay, your headquarters are in San Francisco. Like, you still do that. What about your division of whatever that looks like?
It's
being
no
down
different
here?
than every big corporation being out of
Look
Delaware.
At Boeing. Yeah. Out of Delaware.
Right.
I mean, they have like an office there to keep it there for taxes.
Mm-hmm.
And then their headquarters is going to be elsewhere.
Right. That's a whole nother topic for another day. You got my gears turning.
Delaware?
Yeah.
Oh.
And DSTs.
I just want to listen to that one. I don't know anything about Delaware, but it'd be a great
Actually,
topic.
I think we have my favorite 1031 exchange guy coming in July or August, and we'll go over like Delaware statutory trusts and 1031s. It'll be an interesting. You should tune in.
We can even talk
definitely
about what other states that you can do that LLC in to keep your information private
Yeah.
instead of Delaware. That's cheaper.
That's fascinating. But back to our topic of Scottsdale, and like, anyway, that's how I picture it. It's kind of like, yeah, you stay headquartered there, but what branch could you bring over here? What could you do in order to kind of plant themselves throughout the country? And like Boeing does that too, right? Yes, they build planes in, say, Washington State, but they were headquartered in Chicago. They're moving.
They have operations in Wichita as well.
Well, that's where the fuselage comes from. Yes. I worked at Boeing too. We'll just keep adding that to the resume.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Maybe it should be an episode. Where has Carla not worked?
That would be be tough.
It'd be a short episode, wouldn't it?
It would be. Yeah. Yes, I have quite the resume behind me, but it makes me very well rounded. Yes, I can deep dive into multiple conversations.
Very diverse.
Yes, and
worldly, I'd say.
Yes, worldly.
Sell all kinds of a variety of real estate as well.
Yeah.
So, and you talk about the Scottsdale City Plan. That's all on your website, right? Like anyone can just go look that up. Like, it's transparent. The meetings are transparent. I know there's been discussion in general across the country about government agencies not being transparent, but I feel like it's just because people don't know where to find that information.
True.
Right. So if they go to your website, like, what's all on there? The city plan and
Yeah. So, I mean, ours is simple. It's choosescottsdale.com. We've got our strategic plan out there. I mean, it's got all of our secrets on there too. So if you're really interested, if you're a competitor, feel free to look at that. Well, you know, but
did you hear that, City of Mesa?
City of Mesa, City of Mesa. So yeah, I think, I think you're spot on. It's just, I think Scottsdale does a really good job of being inclusive and involving people in our public meetings. And that's why I said it took almost a year to develop our strategic plan and we did that during the pandemic, by the way.
Absolutely.
Everything was done remotely, but thank goodness for technology. Anybody who wanted to have a voice in our what our future economy looks like was invited to the table. And it really is a diverse plan that takes and talks about, I'll tell you too, that Scottsdale is a small business community. 95% of our businesses are 50 employees or less.
Interesting.
Exactly.
And
how many businesses in the air park alone?
We bring in about 70,000 employees a day to the air park.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
I mean, the geofencing on that is
small, medium business, not big business.
And I think that's kind of the opposite of what people think. So I'm glad you keep touching on that because I'm glad that it kind of is like demystifying Scottsdale, right? Because when I think of a typical Scottsdale resident, just like I'm sure people think of a typical Mesa resident, right? I think of someone, like I said, there's cars I've had to look up because I don't know what they are. I think of someone who winters there. This is just one of their houses and, they have more money than I do, and that they may not even work there. Or they're some big high level executive. But when we're talking small businesses like that, I think that's really impactful and kind of destigmatizes who's actually David Pierce lives there, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. No, it's an important point. And we saw that, coming out of the pandemic is supporting small businesses and shopping local. If you live in Mesa, certainly shop in Mesa. Scottsdale residents, we encourage to shop in Scottsdale because that every time you spend $1 in your community, it goes to support things like public safety and parks and so forth. And so, being thoughtful, where you spend your resources. I'm a big proponent of if a small business that's offering the same thing as a big business, we can't pick sides, but just think about how you can help a small business that's just trying to keep their doors open.
I think that's true. I mean, I chose to buy my new car in Scottsdale as opposed to elsewhere because of that.
Yeah,
right. Because then your tax dollars are staying where you reside,
going to the
as
parks.
well. Right.
Right.
Well, and I know when I used to run my own small business, just add it to the resume. It's like.
For those of you keeping score,
yeah, I know, right? I'm trying to count it up.
It's like bingo. Who's gonna be able to report back and win? So when you purchase from, say, a small business, a local business, right? You are helping put their child through school, put shoes on their feet, feed their family, and if you say go outside of our state and are purchasing from like Amazon, we'll just call it, you are not always helping your local teachers, your local fire department, and things like that. So I just want people to really
absolutely
think about
true.
that.
And then by doing so and keeping that dollar in your local municipality, it supports guys like Rob.
Right, keeps Rob busy.
Keeps us busy.
Yeah. That's what we want.
Crystal ball full of secrets.
Well, and keeps that ball rolling too.
Right.
Batteries aren't cheap. That thing runs on batteries.
I know, right? We got to keep that thing charged up.
Yeah. Do we have any battery plants coming to Scottsdale?
We do not. No. But I'll tell you, it's important. Scottsdale is not an island,
right?
And we're part of the state and the greater Phoenix area. And I'm biased because I work for Scottsdale and it's my home. But obviously, everything we do with high tide, all boats rise. And so, Phoenix can't be successful and Scottsdale unsuccessful, and vice versa. Pick any city,
right?
So, we need to continue to make sure we have housing throughout the state for people that continue to move here, who want to live here. We've got one of the largest semiconductor manufacturers taking place in North Phoenix in the world.
That's a win.
In the world.
Is a huge gain for the state of Arizona. Not to forget our folks out in Mesa and Chandler who are also semiconductor. And so, that's important that we support operations and growth throughout the state and those factors, and not get too territorial and say, oh, that's happening over in Buckeye, or it's happening in Glendale. It's not, whatever that may be.
Right.
It's all part of, we're all part of the state and part of the region.
And I think you've seen the municipalities across the greater Phoenix area really collaborate well, honestly, when it comes to these sort of strategies.
Right.
They've really been trying for lots of years.
Oh, yeah.
Well, because honestly, I know we rib each other and I know we like our teasing each other, but when we're all winning, right?
Absolutely.
Like the Taiwanese semiconductor site, that's a win for our whole state, every city.
Healthy competition is good for everyone.
Absolutely.
Right.
Always.
My nephew just graduated from ASU, but virtually. So he lives up in Washington and was asking me, like, how do I get into the semiconductor plant? Do you know anybody? And I was like, I mean, I'll see who I know. I might. So I'm putting it out there if I do know anybody.
How do they contact you?
How do they contact me? It was Carla at Investment Real Estate AZ. But yes, it's like, there are people that want to keep coming here because we are having all these wins all over the state, in Scottsdale,
Right.
in Phoenix, in Mesa, in Queen Creek, where they just had the LG won the auction to do the battery plant.
Right. Huge.
Yeah. Even Apache Junction, who came to speak with us at MHG Commercial, was saying that, they're working on affordable housing. So yes, that would be a commute, but it's not unique to our city or our state to have to commute into where you work.
No.
Right. So it's just really interesting what's going on around here. And it's fascinating that you get to be a big part of that.
It's a lot of fun. Yeah. Like I said, it's kind of just a sport. It's fun because I just feel so proud and blessed to be a part of Scottsdale and the state as a whole. I mean, we all wear that badge pretty proudly.
Well, absolutely. And to enjoy what you do.
Yeah.
I mean, makes it easy to go to work.
I get to
every
hang
day.
out with cool people like you guys.
Right? I mean, look
Right?
at what
Yeah.
we're
This
doing
is
on a
work.
Friday.
Yeah.
This is fun.
Let's just stay here all weekend. What do you say? Or get some pizza,
Pizza's good.
maybe some soda pop or
Yeah.
Some sort of
something
soda.
else. Something else. I don't know.
Something besides that's really water in
It
your
is
mouth.
water. Okay, good.
So, and it has been a lot of fun. And thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate your time. And if anyone needs to get a hold of you or someone at the city, then how would they do that?
Yeah, the best way is go to our website, choosescottsdale.com. You can contact me directly. All of my contact information is on there, my LinkedIn, everything you need to. But appreciate having me today and love to come back anytime.
Well, thank you
Absolutely.
so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on.
You've been listening to Smashing Through Walls, a place for robust conversations about the building and blocks of Arizona commercial and real estate investments. Host Carla McGee is a commercial real estate broker with MHG Commercial, powered by My Home Group. The opinions expressed here are not necessarily the opinions of My Home Group and do not constitute any offer or advertisement of business or services. The real estate market is cyclical, and listeners assume all responsibility should any return on investment, tax consequences, credit effects, or financing terms not meet their expectations. Guests may not be qualified to provide financial, legal, or tax advice regarding a real estate transaction. Listeners are advised to obtain professional tax and legal advice and counsel.